What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and welcome to another update breakdown video, otherwise known as an extremely long video. So, in today's video, we are going to be sitting down and breaking down everything that you need to know about the latest update, because yeah, guys, there's a lot of stuff in this update, a lot of new events, some of them good, some of them bad. Some of them are just downright downgrades from what we've seen in the past, but we will talk about that in today's video. We of course also have
Extreme Kyo
that we need to talk about alongside a new card set that is going to be, yeah, a must-have card set for a lot of people out there. And yeah, I'm planning on getting it myself because boy oh boy, it is very, very good. But we are going to be talking about all that stuff in today's video. But before we go ahead and get into all of that and more, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you enjoy daily King of Fighters All-Star content such as this. And without further ado, we got a lot to talk about, so we're just gonna do the thing. Cue that intro. Alright, you guys know, as always, I will have timestamps active and they will be available in the description, so you guys can check out whatever section of this video is most important to you. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown, because as always with these breakdowns, we have a lot to talk about. So we're just going to go ahead and go step by step here. So first up, we are going to have a new Rush Dungeon event. Now, as always, you guys don't want to start grinding on this Rush Dungeon until the final stage opens up typically, but do make sure that you collect your 50 rubies every day from this guy right here until that happens. Now, first up here, let's go ahead and talk about the exchange shop. So as you guys can see, this is going to be the exchange shop this time around, and honestly, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. So if we take a look here, we are going to have quite a few things that are going to be very, very valuable. These rush dungeons have been looking much better in recent months with these exchange shops, and this one is no different. As you guys can see, we are going to have elite enhancement hammers that we can buy daily. That is really, really cool. We also have the rare enhancement hammers, and we have the awakened tier 4 through 7 XP mystery boxes. So there's a lot of really good value in just the regular items here, not to mention the fact that we have a really, really nice set. So this is going to be the Whirl of Destiny set, and as you guys can see, it is going to increase your attack, as well as increasing the 3 Sacred Treasures fighters' Burn, Darkness, and Starlight damage by 75%. We are also going to be increasing our attack by 22% for 7 seconds when a 3 Sacred Treasures fighter lands an active skill on a cooldown of 10 seconds. So in general, this card set, if you take a look here, you can buy 2 of these sets before this event goes away. My recommendation to you guys is make sure you do so, because this is a very, very nice set, especially for those of you out there who might be newer to the game and don't have a lot of options for cards right now. This is going to be particularly good for any of the 3 Sacred Treasures team members, so Chizuru, Iori, or Kyo. And in general, I think that this is a super, super solid set. Really, really strong. It's actually very reminiscent to me of some of the prior, kind of the older sets that we had for the collaborations. So in general, if I were you guys, I would pick this up. It's a really nice set overall, and I think that you guys definitely want to try and get both of these sets that you can farm from this thing. So pretty much, you guys, the Rush Dungeon, really, really good. I like it a lot. There's a lot of really good value in that exchange shop. And in general, I think that the Rush Dungeon event this time around, super, super solid. So next up, speaking of things that are super solid, let's talk about something that's not. This tower is absolute garbage. So going through here, you guys, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I'm just going to give you guys my blunt thoughts. I've had a migraine for like 2 days and I really am not in the mood. So if we go through here, this entire tower is just chock full of not great value. So going through here, you guys are going to notice the biggest thing in here really is going to be these guys, right? So these in general are going to be the most important thing that you're going to find in here, whether it be these coins or whether it be these stones here. In general, this is going to be where the value is this time around. As far as everything else in here, there's fine items, but none of it is, you're going to notice, going to be as valuable as what we've had in the past. So in the past, we've had things such as rubies, we've gotten EX, or not EX fighters, we've had fighters on here, we've had tickets to summon fighters on here, such as fest fighters and so on. And in general, this time around, going through here, I am not impressed by what I see. Like I said, the stones are going to be the best part of this entire thing. And honestly, you guys, if we take a look here, we'll kind of go through, but I want to talk about the stones since those are going to be the things that are going to be of note here. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but I just kind of wanted to impress upon you guys that, yeah, there's no rubies here. And as far as any sort of fighter summon vouchers or anything like that, you do get this guy right here. But as you guys can tell, this is going to just be a memory mystery box. So in general, as far as the rewards this time around, this is probably the least rewarding of all of these that we've had. So let's talk about the stones real quick. So we do have 3 sacred treasure stones on here. This is going to be the square one. It is going to increase attack, and then you can see it's going to decrease enemies' defense by 8% for 4 seconds when a 3 sacred treasures fighter lands an active skill on a cooldown of 10 seconds. And then you have an additional increase to your attack here, and that is going to be for the square stone. Now, as far as the other one that is on here, take a look, if we can find it. There we go. So the hexagon one, again, is going to increase your attack. Middle effect is going to increase 3 Sacred Treasures Fighters Blast and Strike skill damage by 3%, which is really, really good. It's nice that they mix those two. And then we also have a further increase to attack. So that is going to be those two. I believe is the circle on here. I have to double check. I said I wasn't going to go through all these, but now I have no choice because I don't remember if the circle is available in here. It might not be. We will just kind of go, oh yeah, I'm not seeing it on here. I don't believe it is. So in general, you guys, I mean, there is some stuff on here that's valuable, and you definitely want to finish this because you want the different things that we've already talked about that relate to any of the stones, whether they be the coins, whether they be the stones themselves. Yeah, the circle stone's not in here. So basically the coins and then the square and the hexagon stone for the 3 Sacred Treasures team is going to be the most important part of this. In general, you guys, I'm not a huge fan of this tower. I think it's probably the weakest tower we've had so far as rewards are concerned, and that does kind of not bode well to me as far as future value on some of this stuff, but time will tell. So that is going to be the rush dungeon in the tower. Let's talk about this guy. So the False Calamity Orochi X Yamada no Orochi Advent is a mouthful, but also going to have some pretty interesting rewards. So if we take a look here, as you guys can see, we do need these guys here, and we'll talk about that event here momentarily when we get there. But you will want these, and if you're planning on taking full advantage of that crafting event, you're going to need to play this thing. And then the other items in here, what's most interesting to me is we are getting these guys, which are going to be the fight entry tickets for the chapter of fight. So these are interesting to me because you don't see these as often. So pretty cool. But in general, as far as this thing is concerned, from what I've been told, from what I've heard, and from what I've seen, and I have not actually played this myself quite yet, but from what I've seen, this is actually going to be quite difficult for a lot of people. Now, I am planning on going in on this guy and trying it out myself today and seeing what there is to see as far as what is going on with this thing. But in general, you are going to need to make a team consisting of your 3 Sacred Treasures fighters. So as you guys can see, a lot of options there. But in general, you're going to need to make a team consisting of them. And from what I've heard, the final difficulty of this thing is extremely difficult. So you can play this thing, I believe, 3 times, yes, 3 times a day. So you are going to need to do this, like I said, every day if you're wanting to try and capitalize on the crafting event. But it might be difficult for people out there that don't have some of these fighters fully built up. So keep that in mind. You're going to have to try your best. I will try to get a video out giving you guys any sort of observations and tips if there's any to give in the future. But right now, I have not had a chance to sit down and play it. I've only seen a little bit of footage and seen kind of what everybody else is thinking of it. And from what I've heard, it is quite difficult at the higher difficulty. So that is going to be kind of the main events that are going to be on the special event page. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other stuff that there is to see here. So we do have the Fighter Codex that has returned. Now, as you guys can see, for the Awakened Tier 4 and 5, they decided to go ahead and give us Crane coins. I don't like that. It's less rewarding for building up these characters, and if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of the places where we would normally see rubies have started to not have rubies with this event. So like typically we would get 1,000 rubies at some point here, and then we would also have typically see rubies in the tower, and we don't see any of that. So that does worry me, but we'll have to wait and see if it becomes a trend. So when it comes to stones, let's take a look. We have a circle stone here for the EX fighters, and the effect this time around, you guys can definitely tell that they know that dot explosion has started to become very important to people out there, and that our stones have started to become more popular on some of these fighters than some of these other stones. So what do we see here? We start to see EX fighters getting increases to their dot damage. This is very interesting. They definitely have good stones in here, because this one obviously is going to be burned, and we'll kind of go through each one of them. But these stones are all really solid in my opinion, and might end up being a reason why a lot of people try to build Kyo. If we take a look at this one's going to be for EX fighters active skill damage. And then finally, the last one here, you guys can probably guess exactly which one they put in here. It's the crit damage one. So in general, the EX stones this time around, this is the first volume of EX stones. There is a definite I think that if you want to pull just for stones, I wouldn't do it. I would not be doing it just for stones. Kyo, when we get to him, he is extremely strong. So you're going to be getting an extremely strong character. It's just when I hear people say that they want to pull just to get the stones, to me, if you're not a whale, that is a trap. Like, if you're not a whale, you could potentially be screwing yourself over for the future, at least in the short term, depending on how long it takes you to kind of grind rubies and reestablish your ruby count and how much you invest. And when it comes to rates, you never know. So honestly, I wouldn't just be pulling for these stones. I know a lot of people out there are super excited for these. Definitely don't just pull for the stones. Pull if you really, really like this character. He is really strong. We'll talk about it. But I wouldn't just be pulling for stones. But this time around, they are extremely strong and extremely solid. Like this burn one down the road, being that Netmarble seems to be obsessed with burn-based characters, probably going to be pretty sought after. And as we are all aware, typically speaking, these stones don't come back. So it's a very, very hard call to make. That's why I seem a little bit back and forth on it, because those stones are kind of like cards, right? It's one of those things where you never know if you're going to get another chance at them, and chances are you probably won't, at least for a very long time, if at all. So yeah, that's pretty much where that's at. So anyway, you guys, let's move on. Enough talking about stones. So let's talk about the carnival. So this time around we have a carnival, and it is going to be a memory carnival. So in general, the items here this time around are going to be, they're all right. We definitely obviously are going to need to get it done because we want these for the crafting event, which we will talk about. This guy here is going to be the circle stone for the 3 sacred treasures team. This is going to be where you can pick it up. We've already talked about the square and the hexagon that you can get on the tower. This guy here is going to decrease your damage received by 6% for 5 seconds when a 3 sacred treasures fighter is attacked. So pretty good stuff. In general, all 3 of these stones are pretty good overall. I would say that they're definitely going to be pretty decent. And hey, I would definitely try to get them. So what you're going to need to do is you're just going to have to hit this 18k. That's really not that much. So really, if you guys want to see the rules here, as far as how many points you can earn for each type of fighter, as you guys can see, you're going to be able to pick up a decent chunk here with some of these FES fighters, BS fighters, SS fighters, EX fighters, so on. So in general, right now, getting Iori or getting Kyo is going to net you the most. But in general, pretty good stuff overall. You know, this isn't going to be anything, it doesn't look like, that has a repeat reward, unfortunately. So that is something I know a lot of people out there were really hoping for, but unfortunately they do not have a repeat reward from what I can tell. So you're just going to be leaving here with what you get from this, which is mainly going to be some of these normal items, this stone, and then these crane coins, because again, you're going to want those. So in general, pretty decent. Shouldn't be anything overly difficult to get done. There's plenty of ways to be able to get points for that thing we've gone over in the past. So we can kind of move on from that. Now, other things in here, I guess now we can go ahead and talk about the Orochi Resistance crafting event. So all those coins we've been talking about, right? Where are we going to use those? Well, you're going to use them here, right? So you're going to go ahead and you're going to use them to craft these other items. So we've already talked about the other stones for the 3 sacred treasures team. So now you're going to notice that we have the moon and the star stone in here, and you can craft these guys. So let's take a look at them. So the moon stone here, if we take a look, is going to increase the target's damage received by 4% for 5 seconds when a 3 Sacred Treasures fighter lands an active skill on a cooldown of 10 seconds. Really, really nice in general for a Moonstone, but we also have another stone to look at here, which is going to be the Starstone. Let's take a look. So, this one increases 3 Sacred Treasures fighters' critical rate by 1%. Now, of course, these are base stats, so keep that in mind. So, in general, really, really good. I'm very happy with these stones for these characters, so if you want to go ahead and try to build up your favorite 3 Sacred Treasures team member, then these stones are going to be very strong for them. In general, you're going to need to play all these different things we've already talked about, but hey, it's worth it. Now, there is an option card that we can craft in here as well, so if you guys want to pick this up, you're going to have to play these different things. So, and if you ever wonder, you can go ahead and just click on these and it'll tell you exactly where to go. So like this one is going to be for the Orochi Advent Dungeon, and then these guys here are going to be on the Relay Bingo, which we'll talk about next. So the option card here that you can craft is going to look fairly familiar if you're around during Street Fighter, because I believe this is pretty close to one of the ones that we got there. So this is going to increase our attack and our critical damage, but it's also going to increase 3 Sacred Treasures fighters' critical rate by 7%. So in general, a nice little solid option card. It isn't going to be anything you're going to use that often. It'll be good for CP, but it won't be anything super, super important that you're ever going to use very often. And then beyond that, there's some other items in here you can craft, but really the biggest things in here are going to be these. So you definitely want to make sure that you're playing each of these events. And like I said, if you ever need to know where you can get this stuff, just click on the item and it'll tell you exactly where to go. So that is going to be the crafting event this time around. I think it's pretty solid. I don't have any issues or complaints with it. I do think it's probably going to be a little bit difficult for a lot of people out there to get some of these things, such as, I believe this one here, because if the Orochi Advent Dungeon is as tough as people make it out to be, for some people, it's probably going to be very difficult. So, next up here, let's talk about the Relay Bingo. So I've already done some of this just to kind of get some of this done and test a few things. So basically this guy is going to be much less rewarding on rubies than normal. So you guys are going to notice we talked about this yesterday. There's going to be a lot more of these caps than there is typically, because typically speaking we have a lot more rubies in here. This time around we only have 200. So yeah, not very solid, right? Other things that are going to be in here, obviously we've got a bunch of hammers. You're going to have this platinum set card selector, which is nice. This is just going to be your unified banner cards, which whatever. But you're also going to notice that you're going to get another 3 Sacred Treasures circle imprint stone. So in general, there's going to be another way to get this thing, which is pretty nice. The final reward, it's a fodder card. I don't know how I feel about that, but in general. So the one big thing that has changed here is you guys are going to notice that this thing is going to have these coins here, right? So these coins are going to be what you get for doing these different missions, and these are going to be things that you need for the crafting event, right? We just talked about that. Other things that have changed here, though, is we have this. So you're going to see you must achieve a total of 8 bingo lines to proceed to the next bingo. We can now reset the bingo board. Pretty interesting stuff. So while this is less rewarding on rubies on this board in general, being that we can now reset it, we don't really necessarily know what's going on here as far as what the other items for the rewards are going to be. It's probably just going to be the same, but if we can clear this thing multiple times, we might end up getting more rubies in the long run than we normally would. So this is kind of a jury's out type of situation on this thing for me until I see what's going on. But in general, I don't hate it. I'm just curious to see what happens once we clear this board. But you're going to also see it says tier 1 here, so yeah, this thing is definitely going to be able to reset. We'll have to wait and see what's going on there. I tried to get as many of these done as I could, but unfortunately some of these you're just going to have to wait on because you can't just get them done in 5 minutes. So that is going to be that, you guys. Next up, what have we not talked about here? Because there is a lot of stuff in here, right? My God. Yeah, guys, I think we've pretty much covered the gamut of most of the events and things. Like I said, the biggest thing is just make sure that you're playing that Orochi event, you're going everywhere that you need for those coins, and you're doing as much as you can there, because I think it's going to probably be a little bit tight by the end to get all those different rewards from the crafting mission. So keep that in mind. So, next thing, we're going to talk about the new banners. So we're going to talk about Kyo last. We'll kind of come back to him. Right now I want to talk about cards. I really want to talk about cards because I want to talk about this set. So this is the successor set, right? I'm going to tell you guys this right now. This set increases EX Fighters' critical rate by 7% and their critical damage by 70%. It also has a 50% chance to increase your EX Fighter's attack by 20% for 5 seconds upon landing a crit, and it increases your attack. This is one of the best sets that we have had for CP in the game, period. This set in general, you need this set. This set is, on its face, extremely powerful, but when it comes to the amount of CP that this thing is going to garner for you, this thing is going to be fan-freaking-tastic. And being the fact that we know that the future is EX, at this point, you guys, you want this set. So make sure that if you guys have the ability to, if you're on the fence on what you should be pulling for, I think that the cards this time around are where you really want to kind of heavily invest. Because this is going to be a card set that, in my opinion, if you're one of those people that has gone out there and bullied people like me that have the Tekken set, and been upset and jealous that you don't have it, well, guess what? You now have an option that is pretty darn close to that, if not better. So, in general, this thing looks absolutely incredible. In fact, I think this, I would rather have this than Tekken at this point, to be honest. So, in general, I think that you want a couple of copies of this thing, at least one set. I'm planning on going for this thing. I'm going to try and get 1 or 2 myself. So, in general, this set is phenomenal. So, next up here, Record of Growth, which is going to be the option card. There's an interesting trend that started with Street Fighter, and it's continuing here. We'll talk more about it, but this increases attack as well as decreases your skill cooldowns, but it also increases your burn damage dealt by 60% for 5 seconds upon using an active skill on a cooldown of 13 seconds, and is a Kyo exclusive. I think that what's about to happen with these EX banners, you guys, and we saw this start with Street Fighter, is I think that we're going to start seeing them, and instead of doing just blanket effect option cards on these card banners, I think we're going to start seeing the EX Fighter getting an exclusive option. This seems to be the case. It seems to be the trend, and I wouldn't be surprised if these EX banners are going to, instead of having just normal blanket options, have option cards for the specific fighter that is on that banner at the time. So, something to keep in mind and to pay attention to. This is a really, really solid option card. We all know how good those option cards are for the Street Fighter characters, and once we take a look at Kyo's kit, you'll kind of see why this is good. But in general, really, really good option card for him. And I think that if you were planning on building Kyo, you're going to want it. So other things in here, obviously we are going to have a rerun of Iori's card, so we don't need to talk about that. It's Iori's finisher from his original run. If you're planning on building Iori, you definitely want this because it's got a really nice long animation. And as far as Kyo's new 3PG finisher, this is going to be it right here. So this is going to increase attack by 10% and penetration by 400 for 10 seconds when using it. Really solid overall. Again, you're going to have the 3 different effect types that you can randomly get when you pull it. So in general, pretty cool stuff, but I think that the big runaway winner and the highlight of this update for me is going to be this set. I think this set you definitely want. So let's talk about Kyo. So first and foremost, we need to talk about rates, right? So we've kind of theorized that the rates were going to be kind of what they were with Street Fighter, and here we are. So 0.6. Awesome. So yeah, let's talk about Kyo. I don't want to complain about it, but my god. So Kyo, we all know, EX Kyo or
Extreme Kyo
is going to be a red attack type, right? So his leadership skill is increasing EX Fighter's attack by 60%. Really solid in general, really nice. You would end up using him, I get the feeling, on most teams with your EX fighters. This is a character that is going to be pretty much, if you have him, super good. Just super good. But let's talk about why. So first off here, we're going to see that 30% power charge rate increase. You'll love to see it. Increase to our critical damage rate. Love to see it. Critical rate. Love to see it. Skill enhanced, continuous damage enhanced to burn and attack. So in general, his overall just generic cores, very good, very solid, and kind of a who's who of what's good when it comes to generic cores. Now, let's talk about his exclusive cores. He has Undying Fire, which makes him immune to stun and burn. He's also going to deal burn damage equal to 150% of attack to the target upon landing a skill, guard included. Really good. And decreases active skill cooldowns by 0.2 seconds when attacking a burn target. You'll love to see it, right? So this core, awesome. Everything all around, awesome. Purifying Flame is going to be the next one. He casts a shield that absorbs damage for 7 seconds when attacked if HP is 70% or less, and removes the shield when attacked 30 times on a cooldown of 12 seconds. While it is not going to be the crit shield, still a shield. And this is going to mean that I get the feeling that this is going to be a character that is going to hit somewhere in the vicinity of what we are seeing with Akuma, but at the same time, maybe a little bit less from what I can tell from early footage, but it's still very, very early. This character's been out for like 3 hours, guys, so just wait. But at the same time, the shield is going to improve his survivability so much that we cannot discount, right? So incredibly good to see this shield on any type of character like this, especially your damage dukes, so you love to see it. Now, we do have this guy here that increases attack by 30% if Chizuru is in the team, and increases our critical damage by 50% if Iori is in the team. So this basically means he is going to be a baggage character. He's going to be a character that's going to need to carry other characters in order to get the full benefits of his kit. I hate that when they do that. Thankfully, the Chizuru for the SS Chizuru is now very solid, and SS Iori is in a much better position. So in general, not too shabby, but at the same time, I would prefer that we don't have these baggage effects. But hey, it is what it is, still very solid if you have those characters on the team. So we have a PvP exclusive here. He's going to disable all targets' active skills for 4 seconds upon using an active skill on a cooldown of 10 seconds. Pretty good, pretty darn good. So in general, I'm liking what I'm seeing, but it's a PvP exclusive, so keep that in mind. We see this a lot on these characters anymore, so it's not anything, ground shattering or earth breaking, but at the same time, this is an overall very, very solid core. This one here, the Undying Fire one, much better than this one here in my opinion, but hey, that shield, really, really cool. So that is going to be the cores, very solid overall. But what are the skills? So first up here, we are going to have Concentrate and Penetrate on this character. Now we know how good Concentrate is just based on what Akuma's kit looks like when he has it. When we talk about Penetrate, this one here is going to reset our tag cooldown and increase all team members' critical rate by 20% for 15 seconds upon using it. And it's of course going to have that interrupt for standing airborne or knockdown with a PvE exclusive of resetting our cooldowns of our active skills. So in general, pretty good support skill. I almost would prefer Concentrate, but I'd have to test it. Now, let's talk about the actual skills, right? So first up here, we are going to have the S1. This is going to be a charge skill. This can be used when attacked, and it is limited to standing or airborne. He is going to apply super armor when charging, and he is going to apply Infernal Flame to all enemies for 7 seconds. So pretty good stuff at base, but it gets better as it charges. We can also get the use to increase attack by 30% for 5 seconds on the next stage, and deal burn damage equal to 4 times of remaining burn damage and remove burn effect when attacking a burned enemy. So interesting that he can both apply burn and blow up his burn on the same skill. Pretty interesting stuff. And then he has a PvP exclusive of a 70% chance to remove the target's hyper armor or shield upon landing a hit. So in general, pretty good skill, but it's not over yet, right? It's not even fully charged. This is going to be the fully charged version. This is going to increase our attack by 40% for 5 seconds. It's going to deal burn damage equal to 5 times of the remaining burn damage and remove burn effect when attacking a burned enemy. And we see that PvP exclusive of a 70% chance to remove the target's hyper armor, shield, or critical hit shield upon landing a hit. So interesting how this thing kind of upgrades itself as it goes. And in general, very weird that it is going to have burn and explosion on here at the same time. Kind of interesting. It's going to make it tricky for some people to get used to, but in general, I think it'll be just kind of one of those things where people get used to it pretty quick, but very interesting nonetheless to see that. Now, on the S2, we are going to be able to use this while being attacked, so this is going to be only while standing. He's going to gain hyper armor with a 70% chance to reset his skill cooldown for 182 Shiki charging upon landing a skill. So Again, this is going to be an interrupt with hyper armor, but it is a standing only, which I don't like as much. But at the same time, it's fine. It's just not as good as airborne in my opinion. But basically, with the 70% chance to reset the cooldown for his charge skill, very, very good, because that charge skill is going to be where his bread and butter is, right? So on the S3, we are going to have the use to increase attack by 50% for 7 seconds, increase target's damage received by 35% for 6 seconds upon landing a skill, and a 70% chance to reset the skill cooldown for 182 Shiki charging upon landing a skill. Guys, you notice anything? That's right. So, interesting stuff. He's basically a character that is built to just spam his S1. Very cool. So in general, I think this character is built very different. I'm very curious to see how this would affect his overall performance, but in general, I'm liking what I'm seeing. This is going to be a uber tier character, I can tell you that. Is he going to be the top uber tier character? I doubt it, but I could be wrong. Now, on the core finisher, he is going to gain 15% power and increase his attack by 15% for 10 seconds upon using it. Pretty nice. You always love to see any bonus effect on your core finisher. And then finally, we are going to have deals additional burn damage equal to 50% of attack when attacking a burned enemy here. So in general, that is going to be the finishers. Pretty cool stuff overall. So at the end of the day, EX Kyo, super solid, super strong, very, very good character. Uber tier character, could be contender for top of Uber tier, but at the same time, as we've already established, Uber tier, once you're in it, doesn't matter. So in general, I think that if you're a fan of either of these characters, and I'm not going to talk about Iori in this video because we talked about his buffs yesterday and I'm planning on testing him out. We'll do a video with, I'm trying to get a video on him and Chizuru together, so I'm working on those. But basically, if you're a fan of either of these characters, especially Kyo, with the fact that the stones are as solid as they are, you guys, and the fact that this character, it's Kyo, right? So I think that it's one of those situations where if it's a favorite, you pull. If it's not, then you wait. Because now that we know that these EX rates are going to be such as they are, and now that we know kind of what they're going for with this EX system, with this new banner structure, there is a high likelihood of a lot of really, really important characters from KOF 15 that people really love coming out. So if Kyo's a character you love, pull, because he's going to be incredible. But if he's not a character you love, if he's a character you're kind of lukewarm to, then hold off, okay? Because there are going to be other EX characters on other volumes that are going to probably be from KOF 15, like a Cronin or any of these other characters that people really want. And I get the feeling that at the end of the day, if you were to pull for Kyo and one of your characters to come out that is your favorite comes out and this guy wasn't your favorite at the time, you're going to be kicking yourself. So that is my opinion there, but it always comes down to who you like. Card-wise, you need this set card. In my opinion, get the set card. Down the road, as EX characters pile up, this card set is going to be of utmost importance for our overall CP. And if you missed out on Tekken like most players did, you're going to want this set. So anyway, you guys, that is pretty much the update. In general, I'm pretty happy with most of it. I'm really kind of not happy with some of the rewards this time around. I feel like they were really honestly cheap on this one. I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe it's just because I've had a headache for the past 24 hours and I'm in a bad mood, but I feel like the rewards this time around are a lot less. And at the same time, I don't know. We get more events, but we get less good rewards, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that trade-off works for me. But you can let me know in the comment section down below if you feel like you like this update, if you feel like overall you're happy with it. I'm mostly positive with it, but I do have some complaints, mainly reverting back to talking about those rewards, mainly to do with the tower and some of these other things. But hey, at least the Rush Dungeon Exchange Shop is incredibly good. So anyway, you guys, let me know in the comment section down below if you're planning on pulling for any of these characters or these cards. As always, good luck. Praise Rico, believe in the heart of the cards if you are, and I will see you guys in the next one. You all take care. Peace.
Continue.